Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Interlinked, the official podcast of Neo Tokyo.
Huge shout out to our sponsor, Playa3ull Games. They are inspired by gamers and funded by their community. They have a epic game on the Epic Games Store, a third-person shooter called Nexus. Hop on in there and check that out. They're also currently selling nodes, so if you're interested, check that out at their website, playable.games. That is a 3 instead of a B on Playable. Now strap in for the rest of this episode of Interlinked.
Today, we have Mr. Nathan here from Faenora.
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys?
We are, well, I can't speak for more than just myself. I'm doing excellent. And the other person that question was directed to is the greatest co-host of all time, the master of macro, the jiu-jitsu king himself, the greatest co-host of all time. It's better to say it multiple times because it just makes it even more clear how true it is. Mr. Cryptoetheus.
Ben, in that case, you were speaking for me because I'm also excellent. Always a pleasure to be here with the premarital, soon-to-be married, pull-up champion. Me and Nathan got a little peek of the guns. He was using them as a talking point, but we noticed, we saw that if you're not tuning into the video, you're going to miss out on more than just Ben's guns, but super stoked to have the pod today. I've been a big fan of Faenoraverse since the first day that I played it and missed a meeting afterwards because I didn't notice that 3 hours went by as I was grinding to beat what I thought was the Griffin, and then that turned out just to be the first boss. So it was a double moral defeat, but I knew there was a lot to be excited about with Faenoraverse, so stoked to get into it.
Nathan, you can see that half of the pod is just our intros of each other, and that's what makes it so fun.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. But let's dive in because I feel like we have found a gem in Faenora, what you guys are building. Maybe give us a little bit of a background on yourself and the project, and then we have a very special visual aid for those who like to look at things. And if you're audio only, you will suffer. So hop on over to the video portion. But go ahead, Nathan. I want to hand over the mic.
Yeah, you bet. So the Faenoraverse and 2TG Entertainment is our company, and we're building the Faenoraverse. And it all started from this challenge that I found, a couple years back, where I was looking at the blockchain gaming space, and I was like, I don't actually want to play any of these games. That sucks. That shouldn't be the way that it goes when you're looking at video games and you like video games. Well, adding blockchain to it, there's something wrong if you don't want to play it, right? It creates a category of games that you're just like, nah, no thanks. I'll stick to what I know and love. And before that, I was still am a lawyer. I specialize in corporate finance, securities, and M&A. Jumped out from there back in 2017 into the finance space. I was general counsel for a Schedule I Canadian private bank, helped kind of run the legal team, and helped also set up one of the first regulated cryptocurrency exchanges up in Canada. So I got experience on the crypto and blockchain side from that. And so taking that onto the gaming side of things, I noticed some of the same challenges, or I would say, from my perspective, implementation issues when people are looking at blockchain and adding it to an existing product or service, where the focus is blockchain rather than what makes that product or service good and how can we use blockchain as a tool to make it better, rather than blockchain being the product or service and let's just wrap it around this other thing that people seem to like and hope that I can shove it down their throats enough to make money. And so that was really how we came about it, and then started building. So did a proof of concept to get a sense of, from the game building perspective, how people are going to receive it. And then went all in with Wildlands of Faenora, which is our pixel art roguelike tactics RPG game that's kind of Final Fantasy Tactics meets Slay the Spire, to do something that's super unique just on the gaming side that people can like. And then with the thesis being, hey, if we can make a good game then we can prove out, can you actually add value to that experience with blockchain by adding it on optionally? Then people can choose. They're like, hey, I love the game as it is. Do you love it even more with using blockchain and whatever Web3 features we implement? If so, then you'll use it. If not, you'll be like, forget about it, but I'm going to just stick with the core game and enjoy it.
It's a key distinction and it's a great way to go about it of like, we have the fun, we have the optional financialization, and for the apex predators of gamers and finance bros who can figure out both, like you have your maximum amount of value that you can get out of the game. And they don't rely on each other. Like they can exist independently. So that is very, very cool. I think maybe better than trying to describe it, maybe we can just look at it and we can play. And then of course, Nick and I can possibly even shoutcast what's going on during the epic battles that will ensue. But we're trying a new thing on the pod, everyone. So let us know how you like this, of like actually looking at the game and playing the game. Also, if you could go full screen, that would be excellent. I don't know if you can because we're screen sharing, but yeah, make it happen. For those of you who are audio only, you are now officially suffering, and you will continue to suffer if you do not come over to the video portion of the program starting now. But talk us through what's going on, please, as it's going on and what's happening, and maybe kind of talk through like some of the design and fun things. Like, why did you choose to make things this way? So to speak.
Yeah. Oh, you bet. And just stop me when I go on too much about it, because I can just dive into all of it. So can you see it now?
Yes, we can. And swan dive away, amigo.
Okay, so as a roguelike game, basically this has a gameplay loop where you're going to go start playing and then you're going to die. And then you're going to start over again and see if you can do better. And so
you will die.
Oh, you will. If you come into this and you think, actually, maybe bad players aren't able to do it, but I can just do it in one go. No, we have people who've played just our alpha demo, literally more than 100 hours in some of our competitions. And now they have a test of who can beat the first boss the quickest. And it's still taking them like an hour and a half to 2.5 hours of like knowing everything specifically just to beat the first boss. And then you have a whole other grind to get to the Griffin itself. So typically it's taking people like 20 hours to beat the alpha demo just with what we have now. But when you start, you have different perk options. So an item cache, that's going to give you some extra weapons and equipment when you get started. Choosing recruits, you get to choose more of who your characters are when you're kicking this off. And then battle XP just helps you level up quicker. So because I think most people are into loot and just seeing what we can get and what we can pull, we're going to go straight into the item cache that gives us a treasure to get going. And it's fine. We got a broadsword, we got chainmail. That's going to help us get started. And then
now, I'm going to jump in and totally interrupt you sporadically, but as people are thinking about items versus XP versus choose your like battle squad, is there some strat there that is optimal? In my mind, I always played where I'm like, I want to maximize my XP in the beginning and just grind it out and level up as much as possible. And then when I actually have a real shot of like making a run for the goal, then I might choose something different. But maybe I'm just out of touch and have lost my my mojo when it comes to game.
No, that is a perfectly acceptable strategy. It's going to depend on where you're at, because you might find that level wise you're pretty close to beating that first boss, but you can't quite get there. So you might think, hey, if I go for the recruits, then I can get some strong knights, witches, clerics up front rather than just relying on what I'm given. And I know that's going to tip the scale in my favor. And after I beat that boss, I'm going to get a lot more XP and a lot more progress by keeping going than otherwise. One thing that we are building out as well that isn't present in the alpha demo that's going to add some more strategy around it is the more you use a certain perk, the more you level it up, the more effective it is. So that's something that I haven't told anyone outside of our development team that that's coming, but this is why we're doing the podcasts, right? Totally.
Let's go.
So that's the type of thing with everything that we're doing as we build this game. And just so people know, this alpha, it seems a lot of feedback we've gotten is that it seems a lot more polished than a typical alpha demo. So why isn't it out and done yet? But really, we're taking the strategy of kind of building in public, right? We put this out so that we could prove out the gameplay loop, and luckily people have liked it. And so as we continue to develop, we're putting those iterations out so that people can try, oh, look, they've changed these, they've updated this, they've polished that. And we're just continuing to build out with everyone, because then we get great feedback. We can iterate and make sure that we're making it the best it can be.
So maybe explain the whole recruits idea and the battle actions and classes and stats and all that.
Yeah, so your recruits, these are characters that join you on the hunt, that join your hero on the hunt, and you can promote them to different classes, and your different classes are going to have different skills, different stats. Your knight and fighter are better than your squire.
Oh, I love the addition of the Ronin as a melee unit. That fires me up.
Oh, that's going to be good. There's a lot to be excited about with those classes. And then from the archer side, then there's a cleric who's a healer and a witch. And so based on what class you are, you're going to have different skills and different battle actions, which is the number of times that you attack in battle compared to other people. So if I put the squire in the back row where they just have one slash, well, then you're only going to get one attack when the enemies might have two or three, and you're going to die quite quickly. So you're going to want to make sure as you're going through this, you're optimizing based on what their class is, what their skill set is, and then also positioning where you want to target. So the ranged players will attack the back row, and then the melee will attack the front. So if you want to protect your archer from a wolf that's coming in and wants to bite them, well, put a squire or a fighter in front of them, and then they'll be protected, but they won't be protected from a ghost's range attack that's going to go straight to the back. So it's always balancing that out, and you can move them on the fly. And again, as we're developing, there are going to be more and more reasons to move your characters around in battle to avoid attacks that are coming. So from here, we have our hero, and then we've built out this whole big customization system as well. And this is something that we're super excited about, because especially as we start looking at the Web3 side and the Web3 features, is with all of your mercenary gaming NFTs, you're going to be able to do this same type of customization of, okay, I want this character to be, having a bad day. And so it's angry, or the pink, and you have all of these different options of different colors and different, and even extras, right? Like all those fun things that you can use to customize your character and make them legit. So lots of exciting things that we can build out with this. And we're going to go here, and we'll dive in. And then this gets into the classic roguelite. You have a couple different paths. Here we have a healing spring. This is always your battle. This changes based on whatever round it's going to be randomized, that you're going to have different options. Maybe as a healing spring, a treasure, a merchant, or a beast battle that's going to be a dragon, something that's quite a bit tougher. And then the question mark on the end, you won't know until you click it. And so we're on a podcast and now I got a merchant and I have no money. So, I think we've all been there.
But you could, but you had your item cache. You could have sold. Right?
See, Ben, this is why you have the strategy, and this is why I need to wait until these things are thrown out so that we can make the most of it. Because you're paying attention, and I love that. Speaking of which, we can equip them, because we should do that to make sure that we actually are ready for whatever comes our way. So you're right. We could have sold, and then I'm sure we could have bought something too. And we could have shown that to the lovely folks watching.
Also, if the squires have 2 front attacks, I was about to say, and the middle one the fighter has 2 mid attacks, that should probably be optimally placed in the middle. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're absolutely right. So here we're going to go right into a fight. This is an early stage. We have a decent, our heroes decently leveled. And so this is one of the basic enemies, which is our lupus, the wolf character. You can see that we really tried to target that pixel art, nostalgic animations and art style across the whole thing. And that's really what we're focused on, is we want to tag on to that nostalgic feel of what I love to play with, like Final Fantasy Tactics and those types of games, and modernize it a little bit to the extent that we can add some more depth and customization to the characters, but still all the while being true to that art style through and through.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, but you're currently playing through with the autoplay feature on. So if you wanted to get even more tactical, you could switch it to that tactical mode where you're actually choosing each enemy to attack and such.
Yeah, exactly. And so that right now, how we have it is there's a battle mode setting where you can choose if it's auto battle or manual battle. The auto battle is a bit faster paced. And what we will be doing as part of our development, but it's more back-end work, is putting together a battle system so that can be changed on the fly. And so right now, how it was built out was originally built out completely as an auto battle system. Then we're like, oh, actually, people would like that classic turn-based, so let's give that option. But now it's more work that we're going to be putting into it to make sure that that's something that can just be adjustable as you're going.
Yeah, because I love that idea, because at least during my playthrough, when I was grinding and leveling up, when I knew I really didn't have a chance to take out the bosses, it was great to just be able to rip out autoplay and be able to grind as fast as you can. And then I'm like, all right, I've got a good setup here. Like, I'm going to be able to take this like boss, but I want to be able to choose how to do it tactfully.
Yeah, exactly. And so we'll dive into a fight with a little dragon here and see how we can do. And this is where, especially as you start getting skills and you start getting against an enemy that can do a lot more damage, that's where you're going to want to be more careful about, okay, when am I going to interrupt? Because it starts as auto battle when you're in that system, but you can always interrupt to give specific instructions of, okay, are you going to just attack this character, or do we want to use some items? Do we want to use skills? And the skills are going to have an SP, skill point cost, and then cooldown after you've used them as well. So all of that, it's a pretty robust battle system that, as we're continuing to build out the fully fleshed out game, there's so much that's going to be involved, just from the different strategy elements that we can continue to build on from what we have here as kind of the base layer.
And how vulnerable are you feeling here without a healer? I feel like they're like almost an essential part of like the crew, where I always had such trouble like getting to longer or like higher levels without having like a heal in there.
Totally. And luckily, I've started with maxed out classes for the squire and the archer, because this would be probably about 3 or 4 hours in. So the hero's been leveled up a little bit. We're not going through the same type of as you said, if you start out in your first run, you luck out with some knights to put in the front and the healer at the back, you're going to get pretty far even on the first run, because you've happened upon that good set of recruits. If you start out and you're just dealing with your squires and your archers and you come against this dragon, there's no chance. That's it. And you might as well accept defeat and try to learn for the next one. And so that's really the point of it too, is as a roguelike game, death is part of the story. It's part of the development. It's part of the grind. And so I know on Steam we've had a bunch of people play it, which is awesome. And but some people just kind of stumbled on it, and they'd write in the forum, they'd go like, I'm not sure what language I could use of this, but a number of asterisks is, oh, this game, it's like random and you're dying way too much. It's way too hard. You can't beat it. It's like, yeah, death is part of it. And I mean, you try to indicate that when you build it in the story, that you have an amulet that revives you, and every time you die, you get stronger. So you hope that those are an indication to someone of, oh, I've died and I'm getting stronger. That's a good thing. But some people just don't like to see defeat on their screen, and that's all right. They're going to need to deal with that in the privacy of their own mind, I think. So.
No, it's a great point. I mean, I've been playing a lot of Black Myth Wukong, also loved like Sekiro, and those are both games where they each handle in the story, like, okay, why are you reincarnating here? I mean, Black Myth Wukong, I think, did a great job with the shrines and like pulling out a little hair to be able to be essentially brought back to that location. So it's definitely a cool part of like weaving the game type and gameplay into the story.
Yeah. Totally. And there's a lot more from a story perspective. We've kept this super light. You know, we have an intro cutscene, and then we have an end cutscene for anyone who's beat the demo. And that just kind of fleshes out the frame of the story. But there's a whole entire kind of catalog of lore that we've built around the world of Faenora, the idea of the Faenoraverse itself, with Moochkin, which is this little dimension traveling red panda character who he comes in, you know, he's created this pod that's able to travel across dimensions. He gets stuck in the nether realm, and then when this gate to the nether realm breaks open, that's how he's able to get through to the world of Faenora. And he's able to provide the hero with a number of different special items that allows some of those extra features, and it gives us that story reason as well to build in a lot of interoperability with other communities, with other things. So it's all tied together in a really cool way from a lore perspective, so that it all works. And as we build out even this story mode, for people who've tried it now, it's very light on story, but we have this whole 4-chapter story lore system of the hero from the beginning to end, and what's learned and all of that. So I'm excited for all of the pieces that are going to shine through with that as we get into it, while building out the Web3, which is a hunt mode, which is we can talk about more as well. And that's taking place in the same world, but not with the hero, but in a mercenary town in the Wildlands, where it's a bunch of mercenaries that are basically hired by the Kingdom of Faenora to help slay all of these beasts, because another realm was open, and there's a lot more monsters in here. So it's the kingdom just being like, hey, go bring me the heads of these like corrupted dragons and this griffin that is way more ferocious than anyone should ever be. Go out, go on hunts, bring them back, and we'll reward you for it. And that's how we build in the Web3 reward mechanism. All of it, it's super important for us that it's integrated in the actual lore and the story around what we're doing.
Now a word from our sponsors.
What's up, crypto gamers? Shout out to our sponsor, Myria. Myria is revolutionizing Ethereum-based gaming with its powerful L2 scaling solution. Think zero gas fees, instant transactions, free NFT minting, and more. Myria offers a suite of tools that are tailor-built for game development, including game-specific SDKs, a spec'd-out marketplace, Web3 spiked leaderboards, new AI super tools, and more. All this fueled by a fleet of player-run nodes that are a breeze to operate and pump out daily rewards for supporting the ecosystem. Plus, check out Meta Rush, the Battle Royale obstacle runner by Myria Studios, dropping very, very soon.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So my dopamine receptors are screaming for us to continue and finish this run at least, and then let's dive into the Web3 parts.
Yes, well, we now have our cleric. We've hit a dojo where we can promote our characters, which is really important. The knight has a cover skill that affects all of the people around him. So we're going to make a knight up front to help, because I think you guys know where we're headed as we get closer to the boss, and we want to make sure that we're well protected. So let's keep running, and we'll continue to talk about.
So it's a really cool. I think what's really cool here too is, and I know you kind of mentioned it before, but I really like the nostalgic feel of it. You know, it kind of feels like I'm also, in addition to the kind of some of the nods you made, I also feel like I'm kind of transported back into like super early 2000s Pokemon as well, a little bit of that. And that was a huge chunk of my childhood. So yeah, I really like the art. And that was actually one of the first things where I was like, I have to talk to these guys, because the art was just so enticing, and it really just, it pulls you in. So I just, maybe we can linger on that a bit and just talk about, like, how important do you think art really is to what you guys are building? And how did you think through, okay, we wanted to have this feel. Now we need to take that concept and we need to express it aesthetically, because there's like, you can have it similar to financial markets. Like, you can have an idea of what you think is going to happen, and you have to be able to express that through a trade. So maybe you can kind of bridge that gap for us.
Yeah, and that's such a huge point, because that was something really apparent to me early on, is that no one knows who we are. We're a new game studio. I started it, and I've now built out a solid development team of people with a lot of experience. But when it started, it was me. I wrote out the whole game design, like a 40-page game design document, going through how stats would work, all the stories, how all those systems work together. And I looked at like hundreds of pixel artists on Fiverr, and I commissioned, I think, 10 to try to get a vibe that would fit with, as you said, with the vision that I had for how can we make sure that it's striking that right balance of, has its own feel, right? So it can't be a direct carbon copy, because then we're just copying, but it needs to still feel like that type of a game, like that type of an experience. And so it took me a while to go through and iterate on what are we going to get to find that right balance. And then it was the same thing of, with each step and element, like I could show you some of the early mock-up designs that I did, which was just to figure out, okay, how would this UI look? And then I'd put the sprites in, but then it didn't look like this. And so every time I was iterating, finding the right piece. And then that puzzle piece, I'm like, okay, we've locked that in. Now I'm going to need to find the next puzzle piece that fits as we continue to build this. And that's kind of the mentality that we've taken with building this out, is making sure we're nailing each step. And then as we get to that point, okay, well, now it makes sense to bring on another developer. Now it makes sense to bring on another lead pixel artist who we had. Now we have a new lead pixel artist that started at the end of last year. And you're going to see with the next updates, you're going to see some more really awesome stuff in line with what we've built out, with more animations and more UI, and everything's just getting better and better as we just keep going ahead with it. And I think the reason is that we're just laser focused on how do we make sure that we're making this game the best it can be. And to your question about what's important about the art style, because no one knows 2TG, when they see the game, they need to have some connection to why they would be interested in it. So that's why the nostalgic feel was so important, is we need to make sure that we get this right, because they're not going to see 2TG and think, oh yeah, I have to see what 2TG is doing. You have no idea about it. So if the logo, if the brand, if the developer isn't going to get you in, then something else needs to. And so that's why it was really, really important and focused on making sure that the product itself is something that people can look at and be like, oh yeah, I understand that, and I'm into it, and I'm drawn into it.
Yeah, the art's such an important hook. Oh, sorry, Ben.
I was just going to say that there's a really interesting concept that I learned a lot earlier in my career, which was a lot of marketing stuff and funnels. And if you think about like the customer journey and the funnel of like, they're aware of you, they hear about you, then they're kind of familiar with you, and then they turn into like, they take an action of purchase or engage or install, whatever. One of the key things that I always saw, because I ran a marketing agency, so I saw a lot of clients and their funnels and what it all looked like, was there was what I would like to call a scent between different stages of the funnel. And if it felt like something or smelled like something or looked like something in step 1, but that did not carry to step 2 and step 3, each time there was a difference from look, feel, smell, of like, and I'll just call it the senses. If the senses didn't get engaged in the same way, one, it would throw them off and confuse the customer. And oftentimes you would lose them there, because if you got them in because the scent was, or the senses were engaged very pleasingly on the front end, but then it just degraded over time, they're like, okay, I liked it here, I'm neutral here, I don't like it anymore here. Or if it was just wildly different, like you promise Italian food, but you deliver Mexican. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with either of those, but if you're advertising for product A, you should deliver product A, not advertise for product A and deliver product B, or advertise a product at 100% quality, but deliver 2% quality, because there's a mismatch of expectations. So to me, like the art being consistent throughout, and the aesthetic and the look and the feel, and then the gameplay feeling like it does throughout the whole cycle, and the lore just making sense within the whole thing, and then it ties into the revenue and business model as well. That needs to make sense and kind of fit within all those things. If any of those are off, usually that's where the customer is going to fall off. And if you just identify as a business owner where people are falling off, you can see, if you check for that, oftentimes there's a mismatch of expectation or difference in quality, or it's just not aligned in the right way. And I think you guys are doing a really good job as we played through, however many rounds and levels and stuff, and talked about the lore and the visual and all that stuff. I think it's very clear that's like, that's something that you guys have taken into consideration, which I really like. And I think just to extrapolate that out for the business owners listening, that might be an interesting thing to like take a look at your funnel in each step, and you know, did does it engage the senses the same way throughout?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's something that was key. Also, particularly thinking of blockchain implementation, right? And that was also a key reason that I didn't want to sell a token first. Is that if I'm selling a token first, then the token is my product. But I want the game experience. I want what we're building to be the product. And so if I can't show you what that is before I'm selling you something that ties into that, then I would expect that there's going to be a misalignment of what you want us to do and what we're planning to do with it. And I think that's what I've seen a number of projects struggle with later on, especially as you try to pivot. Because then, of course, there's going to be misalignment because you've acknowledged that, hey, we need to do something different to succeed, but that's not what I sold. And so that becomes really tough. Now, on the other side, and we also, there's a financial risk to us just bootstrapping it to get this far and be like, hey, I hope that people like it so that when I actually show them, hey, this is the product and this is what you're buying into, that they want to do it. But that seemed like, from our perspective, that was the approach that I wanted to take of let's showcase how it can be done well, especially if the goal is let's make a good game and see if blockchain makes it better. I like not to be, up on a soapbox about it, but I like the integrity of the thought process of actually seeing that through to, hey, we're actually putting something in your hands that you can play before without that. And then we are adding it on and doing it in a really deliberate way of let's really see this through to see how that adjusts, how people give feedback on it. And then because we're building in the open, and we've had this open communication about what we're doing, then it's just hey, this is the feedback that we're getting, and this is how we want to continue to move forward to make this the best gaming experience possible, because up front that that's our goal.
Yeah, I love it. Game first, then token, enhanced by blockchain. That really should be the ethos for almost all games coming to the space. Now, without further ado, let's send this boss to the great beyond.
Yeah, so this is the behemoth. It's in a dungeon. He's gigantic, and I'm waiting for him to add some excitement as we just start grinding down his health. Now, right before this, we got some good solid weapons. So the fighter will do some decent damage.
Yeah, that was a great pre-boss pull. I mean, two legendary weapons. I noticed that. I didn't want to interrupt, but you got the heal plus a double legendary offensive weapon. Not a bad pull going into this boss.
Yeah, exactly. And so when the skill bar is shimmering like this means that there's a skill that you can use. And we're going to need to pull out all the stops with this one and hope that we don't get hit with with too many boulders before we're able to wear him down.
And the one part of the experience, and this goes back to, the beautiful sort of ecosystem or like ambiance that you guys were able to build, is the music. And I already like the music to begin with. Sadly, at home, you guys can't hear it, but you'll just have to boot up the alpha in order to get in there and hear it for yourself. But I know that you guys recently hired, forgive me, I'm forgetting his name, but he was the composer from Horizon Forbidden West, which is the game I'm playing currently. So that really fired me up because I just, completely coincidentally was reflecting upon how exciting and like gripping that music is in that game.
Yeah, so I met him at Gamescom last year, and in the same thing we were talking about, like he just loved the aesthetic of the game, and just brought him back to his childhood with playing these types of RPGs. And so we nerded out for a while over all of this. And yeah, so we're bringing him on. He's going to be helping with sound design and music, in addition to our current composer, who's obviously made the theme song, made all of this other music that's so good, right? And again, tying it all back together, it needs to have that right feel. It needs to have that right aesthetic of what you're expecting from the entire experience. And so that's what we've been trying to do with music as well. And with a couple squires down, but we destroyed it. So
That's
this
a
yeah, yeah. And then this is where you get, oh, look at this. And then we unlocked a customization item. You guys, the luck here, and then it rolls out to, oh no, there's a lot more.
This is where my morale was crushed, Nathan, just to be clear. So now that I know that people are speed running it in 2.5 hours for the first boss, I feel a little bit better about my 4.5 hours. But yeah, this is where my stomach dropped of like, oh my God, I did not just beat this. That was not the Griffin, which I should have been able to tell visually, but I was trying to sell myself a story.
Yeah, no, I hear it. I hear it. So yeah. So then, into here, healing spring, then we can revive, bring a couple people back. I want to we have some pretty intense dragons as well as you get later on, and this was a new addition kind of at the end of last year. And so let's see if we can find one of those, because even with what we have here, we're not going to be able to survive that as well as we'd like.
And then as we're searching for the dragon, and I appreciate you also strategically equipping and moving around stuff and doing all the gameplay, which is actually quite entertaining and difficult all at the same time. So I just love that you're trying to do that and talk to us and answer our questions at the same time. Let's talk a little bit about that Web3 piece, because that to me sounded very interesting. It sounded like there might be maybe a hint of PvP somewhere in there. So maybe you can talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah. So right now, how we have that all lined up is we have this hunt mode, is what it's called. And so within the hunt mode, you can bring on mercenaries and villagers that are a quarter of the cost, and let's call it a quarter of the effectiveness in battle, as you would expect from a villager.
The meat shields.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the problem with the hunt mode is, again, carrying from the lore, those mercenaries don't have a Phoenix amulet. They don't have something that's going to bring them back to life when they die. So you have healers, you have a mercenary town that has popped up where these mercenaries are fighting from. And initially, you're going to go on hunts, and you're going to be competing with other players with their mercenaries who are going to go out, and you're going to collect nether talents based on round 10 bosses that you fight. So those are going to be corrupted versions of these dragons, a corrupted version of the behemoth that's a lot tougher. And based on that and the number of mercenaries or villagers that you have that survive that battle, you're going to get a certain number of nether talons. That's going to place you on a leaderboard, and where you rank on the leaderboard is going to determine how much of the rewards pool that you're going to get compared to everyone else. So it's basically an ongoing high stakes, high reward tournament between you and everyone else who has mercenaries and villagers, just battling it out for Muchi tokens. And the Muchi tokens, and what we're doing is hybrid NFTs. So your mercenary can be swapped into Muchi tokens. You can collect Muchi tokens and swap into mercenaries. And what you develop in your mercenary, you're leveling it up, you're customizing it, all of that updates the NFT itself. So you change your class from a squire to a fighter, you give them like Dragon Ball Z hair and a different colored outfit. all of that gets updated on the NFT itself. And so that's where there's a huge amount of customization. On the leaderboard, you're fighting for your kind of portion of the purse that comes in. And that purse is primarily from all of the Muchi tokens that are spent within the game. And so lots of different syncs within the game where people are going to be strategic about, okay, how am I, is it going to be better for me to revive this character that's going to cost more Muchi tokens? Or do I re-roll them to try to get a better class or a better rarity or something like that? So all of that is built within the game itself. Muchi tokens that you can use in Moochkin's shop, and Moochkin is obviously the cute red panda character that is effectively our Web3 mascot, because his multi-dimensional traveling, that's what kind of integrates Faenora with all of the other universes out there. And we're looking forward to doing a lot with kind of interconnection and collaborations with communities, like phenomenal communities like Neo Tokyo and different things that we have planned there. And so lots to build out. From a PvP standpoint, we're looking, I'm just going to put it this way. We're looking at as many ways as possible to get people engaged in what we're building. And as we go and as we grow, we're going to see the feedback that we get and how we can meaningfully implement all of these different features to make it a robust experience that people want to keep coming back to.
And to drive that home to the citizens, because I know at the previous AMA on the Market Monday, we had teased an airdrop. Would that airdrop be for those Muchi tokens?
That airdrop would be, I mean, the beautiful thing about Muchi tokens is that it's swappable between the mercenaries and the Muchis. And so, yes, that's exactly what we have planned.
Yeah, and I know we're super excited for that, super grateful. Also on the disclosure side, me and Ben is putting on the AMAs and the other parts of the promotion. We do get a piece of that. So we are innately biased, but that's why we got the gameplay up, so you can judge for yourself that we're not biased without good reason.
Yeah, and it was really cool talking to you guys and going through this. And yeah, we just got dominated there. Like,
oh, that was that quick.
It happens.
That one, yeah. I thought I had more time, and I look away, and oh, that was, and so here we are. And now I'm so distracted from what I was talking about before. But then you get through this playthrough, you're going to level up. Your classes are going to level up based on their different metrics. So the fighter is physical damage dealt. And then, as with any good game, you can just dive right back into it. And the nice thing that is less common for blockchain games is that our goal is for anyone to be able to jump in and start playing right away. And that's also a piece that makes it the optional blockchain side easier, because if it's optional, then you don't need to worry about, oh, well, I need to connect my wallet. I need to trust. Maybe I need to find a way to get this certain thing before I can even try it out, get this NFT or whatever. We want people to come in and start playing it, and then from there, see if they can find value. I remember where I kind of got off track, which was when we started talking to you guys about what we were building. I really appreciated the diligence that you did to make sure that what we're building is actually something unique and meaningful. And from Neo Tokyo's standpoint, like every group that wanted to be involved, specifically looking at it and saying, hey, is this something that we want to touch? And then from there, we're able to make sure that we can provide value to you guys, and your community can provide value as you want to just help support us, right? Because we're a small bootstrapped indie game studio that's just trying to do something really unique and meaningful. And so for anyone who wants to support that mentality and that approach, and I hope the proof is in the product of what we're doing and how we're doing it. then this is a great way for them to find out about us and to just connect.
No doubt about it. We're big believers at Neo Tokyo, and you got to play the games. Too many people formulate opinion around crypto gaming without actually playing the games. Like, as you said, the proof is in the pudding, or at least watching some good, high quality gameplay. So, yeah, super stoked. I know I'm closer to that airdrop. We'll do another AMA, get the community even more up to date on everything going on. And then I'm really looking forward to the NT Plays game night that we'll get on the books, where everyone with those fresh Muchi tokens sitting in their wallets will be able to come in and actually use the game. And also, just props on the name Muchi token. That's way too much fun to say.
Right? Yeah. And as we're leading up to that too, we're going to be doing an alpha tournament for our hunt mode that showcases all of that, how that gameplay works. That is really that Web3 mode. So we're going to be doing that, and there's going to be lots of streamers that are going to be involved. So in terms of gameplay, for anyone who's not in that tournament, but as it leads up to it, they want to find out what it is. There's going to be a ton out there for them to watch and stream and see what's going on. So our goal is, just, hey, as long as our product can speak for itself, we just want to let it do the talking.
Love it. Well, Nathan, I want to thank you for coming on the pod today. It's been a real pleasure. I hope that the audience, you lovely human beings and robots and whatever else is watching, I hope you all have enjoyed the visual aspect of the pod today. I definitely enjoyed that. I think we should do more of that. So let us know what you think about that as well. But just want to tip the cap to you, sir, for building a very fun game. I too have had some calendar difficulties with playing too much and not looking at at my calendar and missing stuff. So that's definitely a good sign. And I think all the people are going to have a lot of fun playing it too. So thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate your time. And Mr. Cryptoetheus, the greatest co-host of all time. A pleasure as always, sir.
Always great to be co-hosting with you. And as you said, very grateful for your time, Nathan. Really excited about what you're building.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. It was awesome to be on here, and look forward to doing more and showing more as we continue to build.
Let's do it. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next episode of Interlinked. Take care.